Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll be talking about the chapter Natural Resources from Class 9 CBSE Biology. When we talk about the term natural resources, the first thing that comes to our mind, these are the resources which have been provided by nature and they're absolutely free to us. So anything that's free to us should be taken very much care of, because these, as we talk about it, we'll come to know these are very important resources, and so we must be very careful by using it. So we'll be dealing about the natural resources. These natural resources, what is it known as? What are they called? What is the problem that we are facing, or we human beings are causing to these resources? How we can identify those problems and actually reduce or minimize the problems, and also talk about the biogeochemical cycles which keeps on taking place in this earth in order to keep a balance of all these natural resources in all the portion or all the spheres of life. So let's start. So when we talk about natural resources, the first thing that we know or we talk about is the air, that is the atmosphere, the water, that is the hydrosphere, and soil, land or earth, or the lithosphere. So the air or the atmosphere, the water or the hydrosphere, and earth, soil or land or the lithosphere. Now these three in combination or in together, it is called the biosphere. These three combine together to form the biosphere, and this is an integral part for every living being, because we all the living beings, may it be plants, animals or human beings, live in this biosphere. Any imbalance in this biosphere can cause a serious threat for the living beings. So the first or the natural resources that we'll talk about, that is the air, water and land. These are the non-living natural resources, whereas the living natural resources are that is the plants, animals, the human beings. But it is to be seen that these living natural resources, that for example we the human beings, cause the most damage to this non-living natural resources. Let's take a look of what is happening in this biosphere or in this earth of ours. So when we talk about atmosphere or air, we tell air. So what is air? So air is an important natural resource. It is composed of several mixture of gases. It is composed of mixture of gases constituting mostly of nitrogen and oxygen, and the rest of it, that is, it makes about 99% of the air, and rest of it constitutes gases like argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and also dust particles. So these constitute our air or the atmosphere in which we live in. Now, when we talk of atmosphere, the air, immediately, instantly, we cannot feel air. We cannot see air. We cannot touch air. But we can feel air in some forms. We can feel the air when it is in movement. Now, when the air is in movement, we tell or we term it as either breeze or we term it as wind. Now, when do we term it as breeze? When we term it as wind? When it is very soothing to us, when it actually soothes, when on a humid day the air blows slowly, soothing the human beings or soothing the living things, it is called the breeze. Now breeze is again of two types, that is sea breeze and land breeze. Whereas it is in a very high motion or it is in a very fast movement, it is called the wind. It is the horizontal motion of air by pressure, and this is caused due to the difference in the pressure. When there is a difference in the high pressure and low pressure, where there is a difference in the pressure, wind or air moves from the region of higher pressure to that of the lower pressure. This movement, if it is in a slowly it takes place, it is called breeze. If it is in a very rapid state, it is called wind. So this is the difference between wind and breeze. And what is air? It is a mixture of gases, mostly 99% constituting nitrogen and oxygen, and the rest constituted 1% is made up of argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor and dust particles. Now let us see what are the problems that we face in this air, or what are the problems not we face, or what we make or give the problems to this natural resources. That is the modes of pollution that is happening for this natural resources. So what are the causes of air pollution? If we see to it, or if we study properly, or if we identify clearly, we'll see that there are various reasons which have actually led to air pollution. Some of them may be the giving out the waste, or giving out in the form of fumes or gases or smokes from the industries, the power plants, the construction, giving out the dust, the pollution, the emission of the cars, that is the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide that is emitted into the atmosphere, biomass, burning of the biomass, that is en masse burning of the harvest material, or en masse burning of any of the debris material also leads to air pollution. Then industries, then open waste burning, and even transportation, that is the movement of these vehicles, which gives out emissions that of the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. But we know that air is an important natural resource without which we cannot live, because this provides us with the oxygen that we human beings require for respiration, for living. So this has to be, or this needs some cure. So what are the cures that we need to understand, or what are the measures that we need to take to reduce the air pollution? So it can be use of unleaded petrol, so that the whatever emission comes out is not that poisonous to make the or contaminate the air. You can use the carpool method, that is to go to school or offices. It can be gone together so as to reduce the number of vehicles on the road, so that the pollution level is controlled or is under control. Even the wood biomass and all, it is covered or it is burnt in a controlled way, in a covered place. Use of alternate sources of energy, stops of open burning, plant more trees, and we should, if possible, always take a ride on a bicycle, because this is a mean of transport which does not give out any kind of emission during the ride. So it is one of the best mode of transport. If possible, we should take a bike ride or the bicycle ride. So these are some of the ways that we could think of to control the air pollution. And yes, of course, we should have to, or we have to do it very much positively, because this is our mother nature and we have to save in order to sustain ourselves and also our future ones. Coming on to the second natural resource, that is water. It is also known as the hydrosphere, constituting 70% of the total Earth's surface. Now, this water constitutes even 70 to 75% also for the human body. It is a very important natural resource, but it is very much under threat because of the pollution that we human beings have caused to it. So what are the causes that we see of the water pollution that we get to see is caused due to the agricultural farm chemicals that is drained off into water, the sewage waste, the chemicals, the industrial waste, even which causes this acid rain. The acid rain also is caused, and this rain this water comes and mixes with that of the groundwater. It impurifies, or it actually makes the groundwater also poisonous. Not only that, leaching also leads to the water pollution. All these causes of water pollution has a very harmful effect. So what happens? It leads to or a particular condition known as eutrophication. In eutrophication, exactly what happens? This waste from the agricultural waste that is blown or that is removed off from the agricultural lands, it is put into water. This consists of fertilizers and many materials which are abundant or which consist of many nutrients. So because of this nutrients, there is an algal bloom. Because of this nutrients, it helps in the growth of the algae, not only the algae, also the plants. Due to this growth of the algae, it forms a proper thick layer on the top of the water, barring the entrance of the sunlight. This causes an increase in the BOD or the biological oxygen demand, which makes the life underwater at a threat. And even many fishes or many underwater organisms face death. Not only that, this algae gets decomposed due to the action of the bacteria, which makes the water unhealthy and unfit for drinking, even for life on land. So this is a very serious problem that occurs due to water pollution, which we must always remember. Because of this, it leads to makes the water unfit, and even it kills the organisms living inside water. Now, what are the measures that we can take for decrease or to control the water pollution? That is, we can think or we can take proper measures not to dump any of the waste into water, clean and maintain the septic tanks properly, always dispose pesticides, insecticides and chemical fertilizers or agricultural waste separately, follow all the water laws that has been laid, and we should work to educate not only others but also nearby everybody in order that they do not also go and pollute the water body nearby. And we should also check our vehicles for any of the leaks and repairs. We should be very careful in throwing or dispersing our litters or the garbage that we are producing, because this is the major reason for causing any of the pollution. Now moving on to the third or the final natural resource that we are talking of, and that is the land, the soil or the earth. Now, what is land? Land, as you know, it is one of the natural resources and it supports habitats. It supports life. Like water, it is also a part or it also supports life, may it be plants, animals or human beings. Not only life, it supports all the other resources to support life, like that of the houses, like that of industries, offices, and everything which we require for our day-to-day life. So it is an important part of our life without which we cannot think of. But even the soil is under threat. It is also under the stress of pollution. So what are the causes of soil pollution? It can be poor agricultural practices. It can be the improper solid waste management. The solid waste, just now which I was telling, the waste that we produce, we should be very confident, or we should be very clear about how to segregate waste, how to dispose of the waste. We should not litter. We should not put the waste anywhere we want, because that creates pollution. Not only soil but also air pollution. Unsafe storage of hazardous chemicals and nuclear waste should not be done. And leaches from the mismanaged landfills, uncontrolled dumping of waste from household, industrial and plants. These all lead to soil pollution. And soil pollution means it will finally lead to the problems of mankind, not only mankind, all living things that on the land. So what can be the solution or measures to control the soil pollution? Ban on the use of plastic bags, because plastic is something which does not biodegrade. It does not get mixed with the soil. So this is something which is left over for millions and millions of years, causing lots of pollution. Recycling of plastic waste to manufacture many remakeable items. Plastic waste should be recycled. Ban on deforestation. Stop cutting of trees. encouraging forest and replantation programs, encouraging social and agroforestry programs, and undertaking many pollution awareness programs. So this can be the ways that we can take it out for controlling of the soil pollutions. Now next we move on to the biogeochemical cycle, or the first biogeochemical cycle we'll be talking about, that is the water cycle. So this is the water cycle. So here what happens during the day when the sun is there, the sun heats up or gives heat to everyone. So the sun heats up the water bodies. So what happens, the water gets heated slowly. It gets heated to such a temperature that water becomes vapor, and as vapor it becomes lighter, so it starts rising, and it goes higher up to that of the higher levels of atmosphere, which is the higher level of atmosphere, which is comparatively cool to that of the land surface. What happens, it slowly condenses. It condenses and forms water particles. Now this water particle starts to clump together. It starts to come together. Now once it starts to come together, it forms small clouds. It starts to form clouds. Now these clouds, when they are heavy enough, when they are not able to take up or keep up the water in and anymore, what happens, these clouds give out the water in the form of rain, and this rain again comes up, and this rainwater again, some part of it goes as groundwater and some part of it again returns to the same water body. So what happens, this water gets purified every time, because whenever the water is getting evaporated, it is only the water, not the dust particles or any other thing that's get evaporated. And when it comes down as rain, rain is the purest form of water without any form of pollution. So always the water that we are having, or the natural resource water or the hydrosphere, it's always getting purified by itself. That is through the nature that it happens. And so this chemical cycle, or biogeochemical cycle, is known as the water cycle. The next cycle, that is the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is a very important cycle because this provides the plants with the food, because the nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere, it is a huge in quantity, but it cannot be used by plants. Plants cannot take in the nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere. So what happens, a particular type of bacteria which is present in the ground or present in the soil, it helps converting the atmospheric nitrogen into the nitrogen in which the plant can take. So this bacteria is called the nitrogen fixing bacteria, and there are particular plants which do that, that is convert the atmospheric nitrogen into the convertible nitrogen which the plants can use. These are called the leguminous plants, and this nitrogen fixing bacteria converts the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, into usable nitrogen which the plants can use. This, on ammonification by the nitrifying bacteria, is converted into nitrites, and this nitrates, by the conversion or with the help of nitrifying bacteria, is converted into nitrates. This nitrates, again with the help of denitrifying bacteria, gets or is again releases nitrogen into the atmosphere. So what happens, this total cycle of converting atmospheric nitrogen and again giving back the nitrogen into atmosphere is done by different kinds of bacteria. First is the nitrogen fixing bacteria, then is the nitrifying bacteria, and then is the denitrifying bacteria that does. So these are all the bacteria that helps in converting the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, into the nitrogen which can be taken by the plant, and again the remaining nitrogen is given back into the atmosphere, because again the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere has to be maintained. So nature by itself does all the work of purification and also tries to provide everyone with whatever is required. Now in between this, that is the plants, animals or human beings, whichever gets died or it dies, it remains on the plant surface, or on the land surface. Slowly with the pressure, it starts decomposing and comes down under the layers of the soil. Now this, and slowly with years together, it turns into a fossil. This fossil also gives off nitrogen, which comes and mixes into the soil, and this is later again given out to that of the atmosphere. So this is the total cycle of the nitrogen that takes place of converting the atmospheric nitrogen into the nitrogen which can be taken up by the plant, and again the rest is given onto the atmosphere. So this cycle keeps on continuing, and the purification takes place, and also it tries to provide the plants with that of the nitrogen that is required for their living. Next, we'll move to the third biogeochemical cycle, that is the carbon cycle. Now, carbon dioxide, that is the carbon cycle, means it is the carbon dioxide. Now, atmosphere has carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide is a compound which is only required by the plants during the process of photosynthesis. So the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is taken up by the plants, and it is used in the turn for the photosynthesis, whereas the animals, human beings, they all respire and give out carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That is, whatever carbon dioxide is taken by the plants is given again to the atmosphere by that of the process of respiration by all the living beings on the soil or on the land. Even the dead and decaying or the waste products also give out carbon dioxide, which again goes and gets into the atmosphere. So, and even the factory, the gases that is released from the factory, or the cars and the engines, they also give out some amount of carbon dioxide. It is sure it is in the form of pollution, but it still gives out carbon dioxide, which comes to the atmosphere. Now, when the amount of carbon dioxide which is required in the atmosphere is more, then it gets onto the level of pollution. But this is what it happens in the carbon cycle. Coming on to the next biogeochemical cycle is the oxygen cycle. Now, oxygen cycle, as we all know, oxygen is something which is required by all living beings for the process of respiration. So, plant respiration takes in oxygen, animals takes in oxygen, and even the industrial combustion also takes in oxygen for the process of burning. So everybody takes in oxygen, and in turn everybody gives out carbon dioxide. And even the fossil fuels and also gives out carbon dioxide. So this is, and only through the process, it is only through the process of photosynthesis that oxygen is liberated out into the atmosphere. Otherwise everybody takes in carbon dioxide, nobody gives out carbon dioxide. So trees are considered, or plants are considered, very important on living or surviving on this earth, because these are the only ones which give out oxygen into the atmosphere to maintain the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. Coming on to the another very important topic or very important part of this chapter, that is the greenhouse effect. So when we tell that greenhouse effect, now when we try to understand this effect, first we'll understand that sun gives us heat and light energy. Light energy is, of course, it is there. The heat energy that comes to the sun, it is, now the earth of our earth is covered by layers of atmosphere. Now what happens, these layers of atmosphere, it gives out, or it actually passes, the heat passes through that of the atmosphere. Some of the heat passes through the atmosphere, and some of the heat is again given out back into the space. That is what is given from the sun. But some of the heat, it needs to be trapped. Otherwise, what will happen? The earth temperature will start decreasing, because we will not be able to trap the heat, and sun is not there with us for the whole day. In the nights it would be very cold, and the days would be very hot if you are not able to trap the heat. The conditions or the temperatures would be at the extreme. So what happens, the earth has created itself in such a way, it consists of some gases like that carbon dioxide, methane, and some gases are there which are called the greenhouse gases, and also the ozone, which is also a very important greenhouse gas. What happens, these gases in combination with each other, they trap some of sun's light and energy. Now this heat that is trapped into the earth keeps the earth warm even during the night. Now, the greenhouse effect, why do we call it as a greenhouse effect? What happens that due to this level of pollutions, due to this increase of pollutions, there is always emission of carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide more means it is one of the greenhouse gases. So what happens? The carbon dioxide tries to trap in more amount of sun's energy. Because of this more trapping of the sun's energy, gradually the temperature of the earth increases, which leads to yet another very, very, very important topic of now, that is global warming. It creates a global warming, it increases the temperature. Now, what is the ill effect of a global warming? Because the earth wanted to keep the earth wanted it to make it warm, so it is been trapping the gases. But we should remember that the ice caps are to the poles will start melting if the temperature keeps on increasing. Now, if that ice cap melt, it will actually drown many of the cities and places on earth, which is a huge disaster. So the greenhouse effect has many implications, and even the pollution of air, water as well as soil has its implications in increasing the temperature or causing global warming. Moving on to the last part in the greenhouse effect, I had mentioned about the ozone layer. Now, what is the ozone layer? The ozone layer, that is just above the earth's surface, there is a thick layer called the ozone layer. Now, this ozone layer has a particular combination of molecules, that is the oxygen molecules. It constitutes O3 molecules. Now, these O3 molecules are so tightly bound that it is not able to break, and this gives a cover for the earth. This actually protects the earth from all the harmful rays of the sun. The harmful rays of the sun can cause cancer, can cause irritation, can cause many other skin diseases for human beings and also all the living animals and plants on earth. But this ozone layer protects us from all harmful layers. But again, due to pollution, there is release of these CFCs, chlorofluorocarbon. Now, this chlorofluorocarbon are the CFCs gases that is released as a means of pollution. This chlorine goes and combines a bond with that of the oxygen, breaking that O3 bonds. So what happens? The ozone layer or the ozone molecule gets depleted. Because of that, what happens? These harmful rays from the suns, they take entry into the earth and start causing many health hazards and many health problems. So this is an alarming bell which we must always remember. In order to sustain life on earth, we have to decrease pollution. The pollution of all the natural resources has to be taken control of. Otherwise, will be very difficult to sustain life on this Mother Earth. So this is all about the chapter Natural Resources from class 9 CBSE Biology. If you have liked my video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. So if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. I will surely come back to you. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy and stay indoors. Till then, bye-bye. Thank you.